Now that we have discussed about scaling concept, the rules of scaling the x and y axis, let's see now how we can locate the points and how are the steps and procedures involved in locating the points in the Cartesian plane, respectively through the given scales. So let's take an example problem to understand the concept. Plotting the points is the session for today. So let's see about plotting the points. So for example, I have a question which says, plot the points P is plus or minus 1 and plus or minus 2, and Q is plus or minus 2 and plus or minus 1 on the Cartesian plane. So I would like to plot the points P and Q in the Cartesian plane, provided that the given condition is with a scale 1 centimeter equals 0.5 units on each of the axes. On each of the axes is what is the given question. So let's see how we can do this problem through the scaling concept and locating the points exactly on the graph sheet. Now that it's given clearly with the scale that 1 centimeter is 0.5 units on both x and y axis, we take the centimeter of 1 centimeter of the grid to be subdivided with each of the unit being 0.5 unit difference. So let's see how we can make the scale before we locate the points P and Q. Considering the Cartesian plane x, x dash, and y, y dash, let's try to make the 1 centimeter grids. The first thing we identify in doing this type of problems is locating the grids. So I just mark the grids, each of them, and then here, each of them is 1 centimeter, and then here. Now that on x-axis, on each of the axes, in the sense both on x and y-axis, the scale is the same, is what the question refers. So on x-axis, starting initially with x-axis, my 1 centimeter is 0.5 units, and therefore this moves each of 0.5, 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, etc. as in the previous problem. Similarly, on the left, it moves minus 0.5, minus 1, minus 1.5, minus 2, and etc. with minus 2.5. Similarly, on y-axis, it is 0.5, 1, (1.5) and 2, minus 0.5, minus 1, minus 1.5 and minus 2 is how I divide the scale with 1 centimeter equal to 0.5 units. Next, it's now about plotting the points on this scale for P and Q. As I observe, there are different values for P and Q. So in this case, plotting the points is very easy if you can convert the given points into the tabular form. So let's see how we can do the plotting concept through the tabular form. As seen here, I clearly see that there are P and Q points out here, which I take it in the form of the table. I make a table of X and Y values where this is X and this is Y. Now let me pick all the X values of both the points P and Q. So I have first X equals plus 1 and then X equals minus 1 is what we get. And again I have for P, these are the coordinates for P, and then I have X equals to 1 and X equal to minus 1 for the coordinates of Q. So each of the coordinates have X as plus or minus 1 and plus or minus 2 is what we get. Then I have my P equals 1 implies P equals 2. And P equals minus 1, X equals minus 1 implies Y equals minus 2 is how I understand this problem. Therefore, 2, 1 and minus 2 minus 1 is what we get as the coordinates plotted on x-axis. I take the plus or minus respectively for plus and minus. And therefore, I get 4 different coordinates for each of P and Q. So I get the point 1, which is 1, 2, then minus 1, minus 2, then 2, minus 2, and minus 2, minus 1. So on the whole, I have 4 coordinates which I'm going to locate on the coordinate system. First, coming with this, I have this to be 1, 2. So 1, 2 is my first coordinate. So in this particular problem with this tabular form, we're going to plot the points each of 1, 2. Initially, my first point is 1, 2, where X is 1 and this, which is 2. And then coming to the second point, I have my X, which is minus 1, and Y, which is minus 2, which comes out here. Similarly, my third point, which is 2 minus 2, is 2 and minus 2, which comes out here. 2 units right and minus 2 down. And my fourth point, which is minus 2 minus 1, moves minus 2 left and minus 1 down, is how I locate the 4 points. This being 1, 2, this being minus 1, minus 2, and this point being minus 2, minus 1, and this point being 2, minus 2. One, 2, minus 1, minus 2, 2, 1. This is 2, 1 and 2, minus 2, minus 1. So my third coordinate, which is 2, 1, is out here, but not 2, minus 2. So I have the coordinates minus 2, minus 1, minus 1, minus 2, 1, 2, and 2, 1. The 4 coordinates denoted by P and Q, represented or plotted on this Cartesian plane using the scale 1 centimeter equals 0.5 units and 1 centimeter equals 0.5 units on both x and y axis. Plotting the points is done through the construction of the table with the first row with all x values of the given points and the second row with all the y values of the given points, and then plotted accordingly through the pairs. The first pair gives the first point, the second pair gives the second point, the third pair gives the third point, and then the fourth pair, which gives me the fourth point on the Cartesian plane. Is how we understand the construction of or the plotting of the points on the Cartesian plane using the concept of the scaling process. Scaling and plotting the points on the Cartesian plane.
If you like this video, please give a thumbs up. Please subscribe to our channel to get more videos on CBSE syllabus.